This is Synopsis, a series of conversations in the framework of Abeceda Institute. My name is Neža Zupanc Gantar, and with me today is Burçe Karaca. Welcome.
Hello, Neža.
Thank you for joining. And let's start with a short introduction, especially in terms of composition and a couple of words to the musical formation of yours.
Hello, I'm Burçe Karaca, a pianist and composer based in Turkey. Starting with my background, I actually started music quite early, around the age of 5, with piano lessons. Later on, I went to a music high school, which really deepened my connection with music, and graduated from flute department there. After that, I studied at university, where I focused on both music theory and piano, and eventually graduated from both departments. Actually, composing came into my life a little later. At some point, I felt the need to explore composing more seriously and to place it in a strong academic context. That's why I decided to pursue a second degree in composition at Hacettepe University, Ankara State Conservatory, where I am now in my second grade. Alongside my academic studies, I've been continuing the concert projects I started earlier, mainly performing my own works. And of course, teaching has also been an important part of my journey. I teach piano, theory and solfege, preparing my students for exams and helping them become well-rounded musicians, well-rounded in music. Teaching is very rewarding for me because it keeps me connected with fundamentals and challenges me to think creatively every day, I could say.
Beautiful. So if we start with the opus, two things. Anatolian heritage, and also you studied music theory before that, right?
Yes.
Can we go from that angle? Can you elaborate on that and lead into how you compose today?
As a composer, my compositional process usually starts with an inspiration. It could be anything that touches me, a personal experience, something I've lived through, a story I imagine, something I read, even a short phrase or a long film. What really matters is that it stirs my emotions and makes me want to respond through music. I also often take things happening around me or even someone else's story and see them from my own perspective. Inspiration can also come from more abstract sources, like a particular atmosphere in nature, a striking visual, or even a sound that sticks with me. Once the spark is there, I start shaping the piece. First, I try to imagine the character of the work, the story it wants to tell, and once that becomes clear in my mind, I build the music around it.
How does that look like? Where do you start building the music around that?
I could easily say it firstly comes with this structure. I think the structure is the most important tool for a composer. It gives the piece a solid foundation and keeps everything organized while I'm writing. That's why I use the structure method a lot. Also, melody is something I use a lot too. Historically, music has always been described mainly as rhythm and melody. And I like staying connected with that idea. Even though today melody can take many different forms, I enjoy working with it in a more traditional way by using traditional instruments. For me, harmony and counterpoint usually play a more background role in my works, but I still consider them essential. They add depth, texture and color. For me, composing is really about balancing all these elements in a way that feels natural and expressive.
So you mentioned with classical instruments, right? Where do you also work with Anatolian classical instruments here, or you are primarily speaking about the Western traditional instrumentarium?
I really try to combine Anatolian instruments too into my pieces because this is where I came from, and I really like to stick with the traditions while I create. After I go to the composition department in school, it actually based on the Western classical instruments. We always work on Western classicals, but as a hobby, I could say I always play with the native instruments too, and I add them to my pieces besides the school works.
So if we proceed to one of the works that you also submitted to myself, and a part of which was also performed in the last Abeceda festival, the Halmar Sonata,
Yes.
or Silenced Voices Inside My Head. Could you now elaborate on this specific work, further expand what you already told us?
Of course. Yes, for this festival, I decided to have the third movement of the Halmar Sonata performed. This sonata was something we were required to compose for school this year, so I wrote it as parts of my coursework. The Halmar Sonata piece is a piece I wrote for solo piano in memory of Margarita Karaca. She was my father's wife, and unfortunately she passed away on October 8th, 2024. She had been struggling with bipolar disorder for many years, and during a very turbulent period of her life, when her manic and depressive episodes were intertwined, she made the tragic decision to end her life. This event affected me very deeply, both personally and artistically, and it inspired me to write this sonata. For me, composing, it became a way to process all the emotions, collapse, inner turmoil, and memories tied to this experience. The music itself started to take shape as an expression of these complex feelings. Well, the sonata have three movements. Let me just give just little hints about the other movements, and then I will
Yes, please.
eventually come with explain the
And
third
address
movement.
the whole work.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, the first movement, called Beneath the Shade of a Sacred Tree, represents Margarita's manic phase. This period is full of excessive activity, excitement, and sometimes uncontrollable energy. I follow the traditional sonata allegro form here. Intense rhythmic motifs, sudden changes, and contrasting themes reflects her conflicting thoughts during this time. It's a movement that walks a fine line between enthusiasm and chaos. The second movement, When the Dead Smile, named after Anna Akhmetova's poem, Lament, forms the emotional core of the sonata. It reflects the depressive phase and is much slower, introspective, and profound. Here I moved beyond the usual two-stave piano notation and used three-stave layout. The constantly repeating high notes symbolize the bells of the Orthodox Church, which is the religion Margarita belonged to, acting as sort of funeral bell. Inspired by the Turkish art song form, I used ABCB structure. In this way, by combining a poem by a Russian poet with a Turkish music song form, I was able to merge Russian and Turkish elements, which also reflects Margarita's Russian background and my father's Turkish heritage. The melodic lines and emotional expressions convey a collapsed state of mind and loneliness, and the silences and long resonances deepen the sense of despair. And finally, the third movement, Silence the Voices Inside My Head, is written in rondo form. I choose this form to reflect the obsessive thoughts, let's say thought loops, Margarita experienced in her manic phase. Each recurrence resembles the previous one, but with small variations showing the fragility and despair underneath. The rondo also represents a cycle of memories, a psychological spiral. The constantly repeating theme symbolizes the obsessive thoughts she could not shake during the final period of her illness. Well, overall, the Halmar Sonata is not just a memorial piece, it's a psychological narrative, an inner confrontation, and an emotional diary. Writing it allowed me to translate very personal and tragic experiences into music, giving them form and meaning through structure, melody, and harmony. It's a way for me to process emotions, honor Margarita's memory, and share a story that is both deeply personal and universally human. This is all I can say about this sonata.
So emotion is a really key aspect of the way you compose here, right?
Exactly.
I guess it's been for a long history a part of music, a part of the ritual of music, and a part of it's a general bit of a sum up, but a part of how humanity with music goes through perhaps sometimes a difficult situation. How do you like, because there's also very different ways of composing. I would say even the Kybele Suite that I also listened to is already very different in in the way it was written, right? How do you decide how did you decide for this as a part of it perhaps being a necessity, and how do you then look at these very different works of Kybele and Halmar in terms of emotion, for example?
Exactly, yes. This is what is important, the most important for me. It's making sure that the music I write and the ideas I try to express, I want to convey, actually reach the listener. I really love the philosophy of expressionism, which in music and all the art forms is all about expressing emotions and inner experiences as directly and honestly as possible, sometimes even pushing them to the extreme. It's not just about pretty melodies or, let's say, formal rules. It's about communicating feelings, moods, and psychological states. My happiest moments are when I can fully express what I feel inside and the listener can sense and connect with these emotions. When I listen to the other composers, I try to understand their message, how they convey intense emotions through these structures, harmony and melody, and that inspires me to think carefully about how ideas are communicating through music. This is the exactly the point of my own works. To express my feelings is the way of I can express myself.
And how about then? How do you then conceive of? Firstly, perhaps when you listen to something that might not be composed in that on that fundamental emotional level, and secondly, where does then Kybele Suite come from? Kybele seems so dance-like, even historic dance-like in a sense. I don't know which century, perhaps 17th, 18th century dance-like. Where does that come from then? Is it such a different emotion, or is it from a different place of composition?
Yes, I can clearly understand your question now. I always search for my background, and I always get benefit from my from where I live, from my culture, and from it's a really ancient culture. Kybele Suite actually represents a work that represents this culture. Well, throughout my studies and my career, I've been inspired by several composers. Since I'm, of course, Turkish, I always get inspiration from Turkish musicians. I deeply admire composers from my own culture. Let's say Ulvi Cemal Erkin or İlhan Baran. I enjoy analyzing their works and studying how they combine traditional Turkish music elements with Western techniques. In my own composition, such as Kybele Suite, I try to extract and filter the ideas from my own culture, from my own rhythmic structures. Like we have lots of irregular time signatures. In Kybele Suite, I used lots of irregular structures, rhythmic structures, and piano and double bass use the instruments as percussion instruments. This is where I came from, and I really like to express my melodic ideas by these, let's say, from my background.
And how does it? Any challenges when it comes to bringing that idea of this hybrid classical and traditional music onto the merely Western instrumentation?
Well, it's actually, for me as a composer, it's a tool that I can use. I also try to explore other countries' native instruments and native musics, because there are lots of cultures to explore, and basically I explore them like this festival, like the festival in Bled. I've never been to Slovenia before, and I went there and I experienced it in real time. I speak with musicians, met with colleagues, and try to understand their culture, and researched for Slovenian music, folk music. Because
did you find any?
On Spotify, I have a list I can share with you. I have a list. It's all Slovenian folk songs. Because, as I said, it's a tool you can use. When I find something really interesting for me, I try to analyze it, take it and analyze it, and put it in my own work. It's actually not hard, but an inspiring opening window to my compositional works studies.
So mentioning the tool so many times, and tools are an essential part, necessity of a composer, let's say. In an overview, what would you say are then the most important tools you are applying, that you are operating with?
First of all, for me, like all the artists and who create something, it's first at the very top of my list is inspiration. Because when you don't have the inspiration, you don't have the story, you don't have anything to create. For me, it's very basically, I could say, inspiration. And then I try to think of the character of the piece, because there's a story I'm trying to tell, and it should has a character to reflect my own feelings. And then I start to think about the formal structure. But after these three elements are okay for me, inspiration, character, and formal structure, it goes really easily. Of course, composing a brand new piece is definitely not easy. But when you have a plan, it goes in its natural flow, and eventually you have a brand new piece.
Right. You've mentioned analysis before, right? So is there, like, do you have, when applying other sources, let's say hearing maybe Anatolian music, maybe as you mentioned, a phrase of someone, what if I may ask, what does it look? Is it a controlled process of analyzing that source and applying it somewhere in composing the piece?
Well, it starts with really a controlled process by analyzing and listening and researching for an idea. But then it goes with its own flow, because you cannot control when you create something. I really don't think that you can control, because if you don't go with the flow while creating, it sticks. At some point you will stuck, and then you need to stop and do something else. But when you try to open yourself, open your feelings while you create, it definitely it flows, and it really helps to the process. It becomes really clear, and you can express your feelings really easily when you go out of control while creating.
And what about aesthetical ideas? How do you create those, and how do you consider originality in that aspect?
Okay. Well, the originality, actually, everyone has their own way to express their feelings. I think the originality, when you create something, it's already original, because we are all different human beings, and we always think differently, always speak differently, always. Even when I speak, I think my sentences differently. So the originality, actually, whatever you do, you are already original. But if I have to speak about especially my compositional works, I try to be original by using lots of percussive techniques in my pieces, because I really like to, let's say, I really like Prokofiev works, because he has had a strong influence on me, especially in a way he treats instruments almost percussively, using them to create sharp rhythmic and unexpected effects, let's say, I try to explore similar ideas in my own compositions, thinking about how to make each instrument contribute not just melodically, but also texturally and rhythmically. Um, One of the original parts of my works maybe being really, really percussive, using percussive elements in my pieces. And I'm also greatly inspired by Ligeti. One of his most remarkable features is his micropolyphony, of course, creating dense, shifting textures where multiple lines, more moving independently, but blend into a unified sound mass. I love how this creates a sense of movement and tension, and I try to think about the texture and layering in my own works in ways that resonate with this idea. Um, yes, these are the musicians I really admire, and I analyze their works and try to use it in my own works, but not copying them, of course, in my own original way.
And next to these references, how does how do you reference or how do you source from your mentors and the people you study composition with? Does that in a sense also influence in this sense perhaps Ligeti and Prokofiev, and in terms of method of composing, how do you reference the mentors as well?
Well, currently, I'm really lucky to be studying with amazing teachers, amazing professors as part of my academic education. And being in this environment means I'm constantly in contact with musicians and ensembles. One of the best things in that we can get our compositions performed quickly, which lets us hear and refine in real time. Of course, we take a lot of courses such as instrumentation or orchestration, but actually experiencing it, getting real feedback from performers is incredibly valuable. I also learn a lot from my professor's guidance. Honestly, one of the biggest advantages of being in the academic environment is this chance to experiment, collaborate, and learn directly from mentors and fellow musicians. That's why also I really like to attend festivals too.
It is a special today more than perhaps it was at some point because there's so many composers. It is every work that is performed is a special occasion, basically. And yeah, okay. To follow up in the future, also, as you said, you wanted to approach composition from the academic perspective, study it academically. What is your main priority there? What are you looking into? What are you perhaps developing specifically in your academic studies?
For short term, in short term, my main focus is definitely on my studies and completing my degree. I really want to take full advantage of my time at school, learning as much as I can from my professors and the academic environment. After that, I plan to continue my academic career, possibly pursuing a master's program. Because being in school naturally leads to a lot of new compositions, sometimes even more than I plan. And I really enjoy the process actually. It's exciting to see ideas develop into full pieces and then hear them performed. At the same time, collaborating with different musicians and working and in very varied environments is one of the most inspiring parts of my journey. I love participating festivals such as Bullet Contemporary Music Festival. During my education, I will try to attend as much as festivals I can, because, as I say, it allows me to experience different cultures firsthand and meeting amazing people who share the same passion for music. These experiences are incredibly enriching for me, both artistically and personally, and they push me to grow as a composer.
What I noticed is that there's quite an opus of your solo piano works, right? And now seems more recently the chamber compositions. Let's say those were, let's say, first part primarily solo piano, now chamber. Where do you see this going? Let's say, do you also see it in that sort of an order? And how do you distinguish, how do you consider these different parts of practice?
Yes, exactly. I started my composition journey as a pianist. That's why I have an album which contains 6 pieces for solo piano. And then I tried to combine these piano works with string instruments. And in my second album, I worked with all the pieces with piano, but at the same time with string instruments. Later on, I started to continue my education in composition department. That's why my works are slightly more academic than the projects I involved before. Well, overall, in my plans, involving finding a balance between academic growth and my compositional work, while also having my music performed by diverse musicians in different contexts. I see these opportunities as essential for me, for my artistic development, and they give me both motivation and deep sense of fulfillment, actually. Before school, I was performing my own works on stage as a pianist and a composer. I traveled a lot in different cities in my country as a composer and a pianist, performing my own works. Their styles are more laid back and soft piano music. But of course, after I got into the school, my language is now in an academic way. It changed, and that's why I cannot perform these pieces as a performer on stage, because it's really contemporary for Turkish people, and I don't think I would have enough audience when I perform the pieces that I write for school, such as Halmar Sonata, because people are not used to listen contemporary music. They search for something that they can understand. That's why these are 2 different projects for me. One is melodic and soft music who everyone can enjoy, and the other is academic works, and it goes on like this.
So this brings us to the notion of enjoying the music.
Exactly.
How do you conceive of that? Like, there's been so many, I guess, and still are disputes of whether music should be enjoyable or should be anything, which already in itself is strange. But how do you see that then? Because it seems you are operating with it very practically. So okay, there's a demand for enjoyable music. Let's do it. But at the same time, perhaps the question is, what brought you to say, okay, I wish to do something different? And what is what is the purpose, to put it a bit plainly, of the quote-unquote non-enjoyable music then?
Yes. The key point for me is, as far as while I compose, as far as I enjoy my music, is already enough and okay for me, because I definitely write my music to, as I say, express my feelings, and these are my own feelings that I can not hold and not change, of course. Since I can't change my feelings, I can't change my music language too, because it goes from my mind, from my heart, directly to my notes. That's why, as far as I enjoy, anyone can enjoy. If anyone can't enjoy, then there's just nothing that I can do, because I definitely can't change the way I feel, the way I want to express my feelings.
Can we then return a step or two back and go to the orchestra, the chamber work, the Kybele Suite? What, in terms of feelings, what is happening in Kybele Suite? Because it was very clear what you described and read about the Halmar Sonata. What
Yes.
happens in Kybele in terms of feelings then?
Yes, let me find my program note, because I really want to give you a proper information about this suite. But really, basically, I could say it has three movements. The first movement is lament. No, the first movement is, yes, the hymn. And the second movement is lament. And the third movement is celebration. Well, I really wanted to create something sounds really ancient at that point of my life, and that's why I created Kybele Suite. And since the harp is a really, really ancient Greek instrument, and Turkey and Greece has lots of mutual things in common. That's why I try to work with an harpist with a harp instrument, because I really wanted to hear that ancient sound, which harp really allowed me to do it. At the first moment of the piece, it's a hymn. A really nice melody you can hear at the very beginning of the piece, opening with oboe. It's all about the Kybele goddess and her, as a woman, her, let's say, you know, we women in nature, not only a human, we give birth to a new life. And Kybele Suite is basically about a woman, a goddess, and her feelings surrounded in three movements.
It's curious, since like I imagine those feelings are, let's say, if we consider the range of women's feelings, it's a wide range. That then, brings me to thinking, in some way, perhaps because you were saying you wanted this antique sound, but in some way they sound very polished. So what's happening with the treatment of the feelings in these different pieces? And also, what comes to mind when you mention the lament and the harp in the Kybele Suite is it's in a very, I guess, traditional sense, very beautiful.
Thank you.
And the notion of beauty, you've mentioned it until now merely with expressionism, and that it's not all about the beautiful melodies. How do you generally look at that aspect of at that aesthetical aspect of composition, the beauty?
Yes. Yes, the lament has a really touchy and soft melody, because I try to think of a baby and a mother, and while you try to, as a mother, when you try to make your baby sleep, you of course sing a lullaby. And I try to think of a lullaby which a mother sings to her child. That's why a really touchy and pretty melody came out from my mind. Well, it's actually still expressing my feelings, but this time surrounded by a story. Surrounded by a, let's say, myth, but it's still expressing something that I thought of, that I read about, and it came within my notes as lament.
So it's really the transformation of your feelings in basically different ways, in this on this case through the story and through how you would empathize with and feel that story, basically.
Exactly.
Curious. Beautiful. Okay, to move on, is there another work that you would say is really an essential point in your compositional path? We've touched now upon two, about the Kybele Suite and Halmar Sonata for piano solo. Is there another work that you, looking back, or perhaps ahead, that you see as an essential work of your opus?
You mean my further works that I want?
Or past, basically, most important compositional works to yourself.
Yes, I'm in a week my school is going to start, and I will definitely be writing a brand new piece. And in past, I have, yes, lots of pieces that I really like, but since they're all my works, they're like my children, and I cannot separate them, because they all came out from me, and I can say this is my favorite. But I have some pieces on Spotify and YouTube which I really like. For example, at the very beginning of our meeting, you asked me, have you ever worked with native instruments? And there is a piece called Kıyısında. It's a Turkish word, and I can maybe translate it as at the shore, like a cliff. And I used an instrument which is called tulum, and its instrument belongs to our Black Sea coast, and it's really sounds like the bagpipes from the Scotland. It's nearly the same sound, and at the opening of the piece, I used that instrument, and the piece is all about the Black Sea coast of Turkey, because there was a film festival back then, and they wanted me to compose a piece for the theme of the year, and the theme of the year was the same. It has the same name of my piece, At the Shore, and all the movies that has been shooting were should be about this theme. And I thought of what could I write, and then the film festival was going to be in the Black Sea part of Turkey. That's why I used the native instrument and the native rhythmic structures. Maybe I can give an example of my former pieces as an answer of your
Black
question.
Sea is a bit of a motive then, because you have
Exactly.
another composition, at least, that is titled Black Sea.
Yes, it's deep Black Sea, and it also has a really artistic and different video clip on YouTube, which my husband took. Back then, we were just boyfriends and girlfriends. But as you know, we got married last week, and he took that video, and it has a really strong history behind the both video and the composition, actually. It's one of my favorite pieces.
What kind of history?
Well, I'm
You're speaking about the Black Sea itself.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, yeah,
Black
right.
Sea stuff, but it's you know what? It's a metaphor, because I really wanted to express a psychological character which you cannot define. I tried to imagine a figure that that you can predict his moves, someone who's really unpredictable, and that's why the rhythmic structure changes all the time, because I try to express the person's feelings, which are changing all the time. That's why it changed a lot. The rhythmic structure changed a lot, and there's a lento part of the at the very center of the piece, and we can easily say that this is the silence before the storm. And then the piece really ends up concludes itself as a really high, in a high volume, and high octaves, registers are going higher. I try to express a man by using the Black Sea metaphor.
Okay, to move towards the last part. Lastly, I wanted to follow up on, you said you're also already teaching, right? Is it teaching composition, piano, or theory, or all together?
Yes, all together actually. Solfege, music theory, mainly piano, because there's a really high demand on piano for children, and I really enjoy teaching piano. And I have students who are I'm preparing for different exams, such as conservatories or in other countries they have an examination system. I prepare my students for these exams.
Does it connect, or actually how does it connect to your compositional practice and the teaching itself?
I always it's like a mutual connection between my students and me, because I teach them and I learn backwards from them. They are. I also work with adults, but mainly I work with children, and their imaginations and minds are completely different than the adults. And even when they ask something about a particular subject, I always amazed because where did you think of it? And I wouldn't even think of a million years if I were you. But he or she expresses themselves really, really different than adults, and this teach me a lot. And that's why I really like to work with them. We both educate each other.
Okay, Burçe, moving on to the last part, last question. I usually ask this at the end. It is a question for 2 messages, kind request. So 2 messages from you to anyone that will be listening to the podcast. First one for any aspiring composers. And the second one, a brief message for anyone that might hear this conversation and go listen to your works.
I missed the first one. I'm really sorry, Neža.
First one for any, no worries, for any aspiring composers, anyone that wishes to begin with composition.
Okay. Like composers that I really admire, or
that composers that are not yet composers, or any musician, anyone that might that considers to start composing. What would be your, not advice, nothing, but rather a message to
okay. I'm sorry. I
No
just
worries,
got it
no
now.
worries.
Okay. Well, just follow your feelings. This is at the very first, I can start with this. And being a composer, you just study a lot. It's amazing, tiring, but at the same time, it's incredibly educating, and where you can, I don't know, it's a pleasure. Just don't give up when you're tired, or when you stuck, or when you don't have the inspiration, because it's gonna surely come somewhere. As a composer, I when I don't have the inspiration, I just read a lot, but not about music. I just stop there because I really don't want to push when anything just doesn't come to my mind. I just do something else, a really different, completely different activity rather than music. I just go on walks, just take care of my dogs, and read a really, really different type of book. These are my ways to get get my inspirations. And for beginner composers, when you don't have the idea, just don't give up. Just follow your feelings, and be sincere.
Perfect. And for listeners?
Listeners that listen to my works.
Yeah.
Well, just please try to understand what I try to express on that piece. And without the program notes of the music, there's always something in music that you can follow. Just I hope for my listeners to follow the right story behind my pieces.
Burçe Karaca, thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you so much, Neža. It was really a big pleasure for me to share with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.